Aloha kako, e como mai. Welcome to our garden. We're going to start off right here with native plants. Native plants have always been important to me. They're the foundation of your local ecology, and you really need them there to help give that environment where everything can thrive. Birds, insects, other plants, they all play a very intricate role here together. This one right here is a good example. This is kupu kupu fern, and the fern in this case is very important because it's considered a nitrogen fixer. It creates these little nodules on the ends of the roots that are like little balloons, and they're filled with nitrogen, so that when they start to decay, they release that nitrogen into the ground. And the nitrogen is the most important of the elements that the plants need. It's what gives them their green color. It's what helps them the flower and fruit. And it's even used in the decomposition process. So it's extremely important. So, being that we're on a volcanic island, volcanic ash can be nutritious, but most of what we find here in the soil are actual rocks, not ash. And the rocks don't easily give up their nutrition. So the nitrogen fixing process is extremely important here, especially on a fresh lava flow, because then you have to just start from scratch. The ohia tree is another extremely important plant for us. It's found in the wild only on this island. They do have them on other islands, but those have all been ones that have been planted by man. Their significance is that they're the first tree to appear on the lava. It also is usually the nesting site of the native I'o hawk. The I'o hawk, again, is endemic to the big island of Hawaii. They're not on the other islands. So this tree is very significant to the survival of that native bird. This here, one of my favorites, so dramatic for the landscape, both day and night. The way that it gets lit up by the stars and the moon or any landscape lighting. This one is what we call the blue Bismarck fan palm. And this particular one was planted about almost 10 years ago. And it was this big, tiny little feller. And now you can see 10 years later, it's just a showstopper. You can't help but stop and look at it. This is kind of an interesting subject. It shows you how plants are related and how we group them together. This one is commonly called the elephant ear. This particular variety is midnight magic because of the dark colors of the leaves. It's a member of the family we call Calocaceous. And Calocaceous used to include a group of plants called Alocaceous. And then they eventually separate them into two different families. Reason being is that the Calocaceous are edible. The Alocaceous is not. The Calocaceous, when it comes to eating it, the famous member of this family is Hawaii's taro. It's a Calocaceous. And of course, taro is everything in Hawaiian culture. This is a section of our garden where we've tried to concentrate mostly on natives. Right here is called the hau tree. And it's a significant one for Hawaiian culture. Again, it's a native to here, which is important. It's a beautiful tree. You get nice purple leaves on the new growth. It eventually puts out a very large yellow flower. that the next day turns into more of a burgundy-ish color, almost like the leaves. This is also used as part of their adornment for hula. When we talk about tapa cloth, it's cloth that's been made out of bark that's been pounded to where it thins out and becomes a sheet of fabric. This is one of the most common barks to use for that purpose. That right there with the little yellow dots, that's another native Hawaiian fern. Hawaiians call it moa, which is Hawaiian for chicken. And the reason for that, you can kind of see over here, they eventually turn the color of what kind of mimics a chicken's foot. But this one right here is what we call in Hawaii olena. This is what we get the source of turmeric from. But again, we call it olena. And unfortunately, Trent doesn't have smell-o-vision because this is actually called the allspice tree. So you take a leaf and crush it up, and then you just like, smells so wonderful. Even the doggy. Yeah. Sasha even likes it. This is what we call pandanus. This particular one I'm showing you because it's an edible pandanus. The leaves, if you collect the leaves and cook with them, they impart a wonderful flavor into things. Usually like put into stews or rice, things of that nature. But it's just a very nice, like fresh green taste. Right here we have the native pandanus relative to the other one we just showed you. This is what we call hala. Okay, hala tree has been used a lot by Hawaiian cultures. Most prominently are the leaves themselves. The leaves have been used to make hula skirts, bags, boxes, hats, the mats that we lay on the floor to perform hula on. Those all come from the leaf of the hala. And you'll hear us call it lau hala. Lau meaning leaf in Hawaii. It does produce a fruit. It has nutritional value to it, but it's not something you eat unless you're like really, really hungry, because it's just fibrous. It's so fibrous that they would use it as a paintbrush to paint designs onto their tapa or their hala mats. This one, the native name skips my head right now, but this is a native Hawaiian plant. This is called sandalwood. Now, sandalwood does grow throughout the Orient, but this species is found only on the islands. It's almost extinct because it's considered a much higher quality of sandalwood than what they grow in the Orient. So therefore, a lot of the Asian buyers came over and pretty much strip mined everything. So it is endangered. This is a unique plant in its growth habit, something that's rather unique to Hawaii. This plant, it's called akia. If it grows on the shoreline, it stays a short little ground cover. When you bring it up in elevation, we're at about a little over 1,000 feet here, you'll see that it tends to grow upward into more of a shrub. If you take it and plant it higher up on the mountain, it tends to grow as a tree. So it depends on where it's planted, what habit it takes on. Also famous because it produces a little red berry. And the little red berry was one of the most often ways that ancient Hawaiians would execute another person. It's extremely toxic, and they would force the person to drink it. This collection right in here is a small collection of palms. We have triangle palm right here, another one in back, some behind you. And then right here we have is what people call areca palms. Areca is not its Latin name, but everybody knows it as areca. These are often planted as hedges. I was living in a place once with a nice thick hedge of it when a hurricane came through. These guys were dancing the hula, but my place sustained no damage. They did a very good job of blocking the wind. I prefer to keep them pruned down to just a couple of stalks instead of allowing all the babies to come up. I do that because I like that silhouette of the trunk. This one here is not a native, but it's one of those that people often think of when they think of Hawaii. Packed with fragrance. This is what we call the pinwheel gardenia. Most gardenias are smaller shrubs and oftentimes have thick white flowers. This one has that golden yellow pinwheel with a long stem to it, and it turns eventually into a tree of about 15 to 20 feet and covered with flowers. So the fragrance just, it's all through the air. It's so wonderful to smell. So here we are with a rather nice large stand of torch ginger. You can see the flower is looking like a flame, so hence the name torch. This is a ginger, a true ginger. And I say that because, again, we misname plants often. We have what we normally call around here yellow and white ginger, which are often made into leis. They even have songs about my sweet yellow ginger lei. But those aren't gingers. Those are what we call alpinias. They're in the ginger family, but they're not a true ginger. And the reason being is that the ginger, as you can see here, sends up a flower stalk directly out of the ground. Okay? There's no flowers on the leaf stem. Alpinias put up their flowers at the terminal joint of the leaf, and that's why they're an alpinia and not a ginger. Right here we have one of my favorites. They're so easy to grow. They grow so quick, and they just produce like crazy, and they do it for about 15 years. This is papaya. And papaya, again, misnamed. It's not a tree. It's an herbaceous plant. Like, I always say, think of like Brussels sprouts on steroids. It starts fruiting within about 9 months. And like I said, it goes for about 15 years. Usually for commercial production, they do a couple of years and get rid of it and start all over. This one, again, not a native, folks. I think it's considered a cayenne pepper. I'm not 100% sure, but what matters to us, again, is what everybody calls it here. We call it Hawaiian chili pepper, and we use it in all kinds of Thai cuisine, of course. And one thing that people like around here, we call it Pele's water or pepper water. We take the peppers with vinegar and water and garlic and make a real nice, spicy Hawaiian Tabasco. They grow wonderfully. Beautiful ornamentation with all the different colors of the fruit. And it's so prolific. There is what we call kefir lime. And with the kefir lime, it's not so much the fruit that you're looking for. The fruit tends to be very small, very hard, not a lot of juice to it. The reason why we grow it is mostly for the foliage. The leaf, which is kind of unique looking, has a very strong lime-like flavor, and it's used again a lot in Asian cooking. If you look here, you can see new leaves coming out. They tend to be very dark in color, and those, if you pick them when they're that fresh, they have that same flavor with the addition of kind of a peppery bite to them. So pulled off, put on top of a salad. Oh no, delicious. This one right here, again, prolific producer. It never stops. Beautiful flowers that are fragrant, similar to a lilac fragrance, which I love. This is the Meyer lemon, and it's all the time producing for us. You can see this one right here. That'll be at least a cup of lemon juice just out of that one lemon. So think eggs Benedict, lemon chiffon pie, cocktails. This one gets a very tough skin to it, so it's hard to tell when it's truly ripe. But this is the Valencia orange. Wonderful flavor, just love it. An actual native ginger to Hawaii. This is what we call avapuhi. And avapuhi is quite often used in shampoos and conditioners now. Because you take the bud and you just squeeze it, and all that liquidy gel comes out. You put that in your hair when it's wet, shampoo it up and condition it all at once. And it smells good. One thing we're doing here for our sustainability, trying to grow our own vegetables. But unfortunately, we don't have soil here. So we have to make our soil. I've been dumping grass clippings and leaf debris from the yard for over 5 years now, just to build up the soil. I got maybe about 6 inches of soil right now. One of the things that helps that to help add some nutrition to that soil is the pond. In this case, we have some koi in here, and they like to eat plants, so we don't grow them in here. But there's all kinds of silt that settles in the bottom of the pond. Every once in a while we drain it, as you can see here. We drain it down to where we can collect the sludge that's in the bottom of the pond and then pour that into the garden. Hence the fish poo and the sludge becomes a fertilizer. One of the unique things to find in the plant kingdom is anything that's black and still be alive. This one right here, we call this popolo berry or blackberry. It's a native to Hawaii and related to tomatoes. Often used in local medicinal practices, and the wild birds love them. This mango tree, it has about a family of about 15 saffron finches that live in there. And we see them flying all over throughout the day, gathering their berries and seeds and little insects. But this is what we call the black bat flower. That's called a taka. Okay. And then also next to that is we have a black anthurium. Beautiful. I'd also like to get some black mondo grass. That would be nice to have. This is one of the rarest of the native plants that we have in our garden. It's virtually extinct, not quite, but very close to it. This is called halapepe. The major downfall for the halapepe is the speed that it grows at, which is so slow. This guy, I've had it for a good 10 years, and you can see from the time I bought it, it was right here, and in 10 years it's only grown that much. Gets a beautiful flower to it. And it's just so rare. I mean, they take so long to grow. This is the tangerine, and the tangerine produces fruit like it's going out of style. You can juice it, you can freeze it, I mean, you can do whatever. Here's what we call Buddha citron, or the hand of Buddha, which is a lemon that has a very distorted growth habit to where it looks like a hand with fingers. Can be used for the juice, but mostly it's used for the zest, for the flavorings. This one here is just ornamental. And I say just because I don't know of any other usage of it, but it's here from the design perspective because one of the people who lives here loves the color orange. So part of the focus is to bring in orange to the yard. And this one is called the orange mandanella. It does come in other colors, but we're sticking with the orange. This is a bamboo. Bamboo is a huge family, lots of different colors, sizes, shapes even, and they're very, very useful. You can eat them when the stalks are first coming out of the ground. They get about a foot high and cut it off, and that's where your heart of palm or your bamboo shoots come from. Otherwise, you let it grow. It has a silica coating on the outside, which makes it nice and hard and waterproof and gives it that real smooth feel to it. Once it's matured, try to wait about 5 years. Then you cut it down. You can then use it for various projects, building furniture, building houses, cooking utensils. The list goes on and on and on. Lawa'e. This one I've discovered over the years is not considered a native. It was introduced, but it's again a very important plant for hula adornment. It grows wonderfully around here, thick enough that it helps to hold down other weeds. Ferns don't produce flowers. They produce spores, fruiting bodies. And you can see on these here, these are the older leaves because you see these spots that are forming on the top of the leaf. Okay? Well, surprise, surprise, if you turn it over, you see they're bright orange little pillows, all containing millions of little fruiting bodies that eventually will be carried by the wind to help start other colonies. This is what we call Japanese spurge or bloodleaf. And as you can see, the way the light backlights them, they're just beautiful. If you leave it to its own nature, this gets to be about 30 feet tall. So with this one, I keep it pruned down very small, not even half of what you see right here. And I do that probably about twice a year. And once I prune it, it sends out new growth, and then it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Nice and dense and full. And that makes the trunk stronger because it gets thicker and thicker.